What's up, guys, and welcome back to the doctor's office. I am Dr. K right now, here to give you a proper diagnosis and prognosis and everything comics and comic book characters. And we are on book 5 for Witchblade. When I tell you the story is just moseying along, it's just moseying along. So we are in Sarah Pazzini's apartment, and she is basically reliving the night and the feeling she got when the Witchblade took over her body against her will, and what it felt like. And she's got these worms coming out of her mouth and out of her body and things like that, and it's actually freaking her out. On top of that, it is warning her that there is a predator nearby. So she, of course, grabs her gun, gets up, and Ian is in her kitchen making pancakes. And she's just like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's just like, oh, not too long ago, this would have been considered romantic. And she's like, yes, but now people have boundaries. You can't just go into another woman's apartment and cook food in her kitchen. So she's, of course, not amused by this and kicks him out. Right? But the thing is like, before she kicks him out, he starts doing things with the egg yolk, which is arousing for her at this point in time. And she's just like, nope, you gotta go. So she kicks him out, and she's sparring with her friend Michael, and they start retracing the steps that they had already gone through. So they're looking for somebody in particular, and they go to her grandmother's house, and her grandmother are not on speaking terms, but she goes out grocery shopping the same day at the same time, and she is able to let herself into the house, and she's looking for old pictures of her father. And so she finds some old pictures of her dad, and she's finding this man named Paul Pisano, who became her father's partner. Now, it was also told to her that Paul had died from alcohol poisoning, I guess, or drank himself to death. Anyway, he had died like 10 years ago. However, she doesn't think that that's the case. So her, Michael and Nicole, which are her two friends that have been helping her do this, are at her apartment, and she is thinking to herself that she's missing something. And she was like, Ian was here, and like, I made him leave because I couldn't handle the situation right now, but I feel like I'm missing something. And she's asking the Witchblade to kind of give her like a sign or a warning or anything. And the Witchblade is basically just like, darkness is coming, and darkness is going to be here. There's always going to be darkness, and just like all of these like quick images. And she finally gets up and is like, Paul Pisano's mother. And they're like, you're Paul Pisano's mother? And she's like, fucking no, pay attention. So they go through looking for Paul Pisano's mother, and they find all kinds of information and the fact that she should still be alive. And she has like a bank account registered in her name, social security number is still active. So when they find her house and they look at the surveillance around the house, obviously somebody going into the house is not an 87-year-old woman, but it is a man. So Michael and Sarah decide that they're going to go poke around there and see what's going on. Now, that situation is very volatile for her, and when she speaks of Paul Pisano, she says that after her father died, her boss who had been raising her took her to go see Paul because she wanted to hear stories about her father. And because he was her father's partner, then he should have had a bunch of stories. But he slammed the door in her face. After that, her future boss took her to get root beers afterwards. It sounds like to me that you're hiding something. What could it be? Are you dirty too? Now they get to this house, and this house is very, very, very run down and gross looking. And Michael says that it doesn't look like it's been touched since the hurricane touched it. So it looks very much abandoned, like nobody should be here. So when they go in, they of course are getting all kinds of like mixed smells. It smells disgusting, it smells old and moldy. But she, as the Witchblade, wielder is picking up a completely different scent, and that scent is oil. And two people who look to be possessed by some type of demon come from the roof or come from the ceiling and attack Sarah and Michael. Now, Michael has absolutely no idea what's going on. She kind of has some sort of clue because the Witchblade starts to react to it. However, she cannot use the Witchblade in front of Michael. The Witchblade is not discerning. So Michael can be her ally, but when it comes to the Witchblade, if the Witchblade is perceiving a threat, it's not going to distinguish between who is and isn't a threat in that moment. So if he sees that she transforms into that Witchblade armor, and at some point in time he gets like frightened, points his gun at her, or is shooting in her like immediate vicinity, he's going to be killed too. So she's trying to prevent that from happening. So she's trying to prevent the Witchblade from taking control of her. Now, earlier in the conversation, or earlier when she was talking to Ian before she kicked him out of her house, he says that she was being a bit different and asked her if she was resisting the Witchblade, which she is. Because, of course, she's trying to enjoy life. Because the Witchblade does, of course, have a mind of its own. Now, she does say throughout that she has been resisting the Witchblade, but it seems like she has a little bit more control over it by the fact that she's able to stop it from taking her over in this moment. Now, while they are trying not to kill the two people that have been possessed by whatever that is, Ian shows up and he has Mr. Paul Pisano in his custody. And he's like, Sarah, you know this person? Like, who is that with you? And he's like, oh, this is Paul Pisano. You know, got him gift wrap for you. Here you go. And she's like, Ian, what the fuck, bro? And he's like, well, since you weren't hungry earlier, is there anything else I can do for you? When I tell you, that man is so fine. Oh my God, girl. And it really does suck knowing that his whole entire job here is to make her weaker and get her to basically be a slave to the Witchblade. However, it's almost as if she has subconsciously figured that out, because she does point out that what he did say was, have I not seduced you already? Something that he did say book prior. And she's trying to pull herself out of it. She's trying to give herself more freedom and more control with the Witchblade, so that the Witchblade isn't just doing what it wants to do with her as its host. And so that's good for her. As it pertains to this story, this is a wild story, because when he pulled Paul Pisano, it looked like he simply knocked him unconscious, but his eyes were still open. I don't think he's dead. I do think he's still alive. I don't think he would kill, because he's, you know, he knows that she's looking for answers. So I don't think that she would, like, that he would kill her lead. You know what I'm saying? So who knows, right? And so the interactions between him and her, absolutely hilarious. She even, when she's looking for information, she went to the people who had ended up buying her father's house and asked them to go into his office, where like he still has stuff, I guess. So she's still doing the work. I think this is more important to her than what Ian realizes, and I think that's actually why Ian even brought Paul Pisano over there, because he realizes that this is actually important to her. And it's kind of, do you care about her or not? Because I feel like you do. I feel like you yourself, Mr. Ian Nottingham, are trying to resist the fact that you do like her, so that you can do your job. Who knows? But that is it for this episode of The Doctor's Office, and I will see you guys at your next checkup.